Good evening, everyone. It is 6:02, getting this meeting started just a wee bit late. This is the council committee meeting for the city of Gallatin for February 27th, 2024. And we're calling the meeting to order officially, and we begin the meeting with the roll call, which Ms. Kittrell will handle for us.
Vice Mayor Love.
Here.
Councilman Carter.
Present.
Councilman Fan.
Here.
Councilman Fennell.
Here.
Councilwoman George.
Here.
Councilman Hayes.
Present.
And Councilman Juvance. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Everyone's here this evening. Before we go into public recognition, I do want to recognize the young ladies of Scout Troop 9 with First Church of the Nazarene. Would you all like to stand? I'd like everybody to see you guys. We had just a few minutes to speak before the meeting. And they are particularly interested in what makes a good citizen. So I appreciate their interest in that and being here at the City Council meeting tonight to learn more about Gallatin City government. Thank you, ladies. All right, with that, we'll move into public recognition. This is the time of the meeting that you'll have an opportunity to speak on any item that's on the agenda or not on the agenda. You'll have 5 minutes. We ask that you give us your name and your address for the record. And I would remind everyone that we ask everyone not to applaud, not to laugh, not to show any kind of response to any of the public comment because we want to be respectful of everyone. But with that, public comment is now open and you may come forward if you'd wish to speak.
Good evening, Mayor Brown, City Council member and staff. My name is Vicki Hendrick, 560 Peach Valley Road, also 1135, 1145 Lot 4 Road. I want to walk back just a bit. I remember a meeting I attended at First Presbyterian Church, the fellowship hall conducted by Jimmy Overton, and with the proposed development information being presented that night about Lot 4 in Peach Valley. I remember many friends and neighbors being there, and I remember the frustration and disbelief of this going on in our blessed area of Gallatin. I remember walking out feeling like air had been let out of my balloon for certain, many others the same. I look around and sometimes I think, well, I'm coming up here and I'm making everybody upset because I'm being obstinate. I'm not. Everybody has a legitimate concern about what's going on. And I'm just exercising my constitutional rights.
You're always lovely. I will interject.
Fast forward, January 24th, I was here last year, and it seemed like everything was moving at the speed of light at that time. And here we are a little over a year later. And I did say at that first meeting I spoke at about the floodgate would be opened if we ever started allowing annexation out there and changing the character of the area. And I really feel that that's just in our cards right now. I think we all have been concerned about the rezone will change the character, and that is like a really big focus for us, leading to more traffic, more people, safety issues, noise, and reduction in property values. I'm not a political girl. My son is. I don't know he studied political science, so he knows a lot more about government than I do, so he would probably be better coming and do this, but anyway. I wish I could say I'm the only one that is feeling so frustrated right now. Traffic in this town right now is just a nightmare. Just last week, there was a fatal accident at Hancock and 109. People speed, get road rage, impatient drivers, and that seems like it's the norm anymore, anywhere you go. I don't know what the remedy is. I don't feel what we're doing is working. I noticed our streets are so outdated driving out South Water yesterday after I left Mama's Kitchen, empty-handed. I thought, when was the last time that I came out South Water and noticed how everything was it just doesn't seem like the roads had been updated in so many years. I had left Lowe's that afternoon to go get my mom a plate, and I left there at 1:30, and they closed at 2 at Mama's Kitchen, and I couldn't get there. And I felt like I was disappointing her. Mayor Brown and City Council, I'm just lost in Gallatin these days. I'm not the only one. I really feel sorry for the elderly drivers when I'm, out and talking to people. Someone told me once, stress will kill you faster than a bullet. And I know a lot of people that are under stress right now because of the proposed Lot 4, banks of Lot 4, and everything that's going on in that area at Woods Ferry and Peach Valley. Week before, I left the city council meeting, and I sent a text to a friend as I was sitting in the parking lot, and they live on Woods Ferry. Here's what she said back to me. I usually try to say something, a quote, that I think that would really grab somebody's attention, but I'm not. This is heartfelt. I texted her, and she said, "We are overwhelmed here, and Danny is having different hospital stays and health problems, and today I wrecked my car. Danny does not hear well, and I go with him to every appointment and procedure. Last week, 4 mornings and worked afternoons, we are watching excavating on side and back of our house. We've heard about apartments possibly going across from us on the Poindexter property. It seems obvious things are going forward, and things seem they are done deal before it actually happens. We are here as long as we are physically able to stay in our home. We thought we would outlive all this growth, but no such luck. We are 80 and 75 years old, and we are just trying to survive." Her words broke my heart. You may think I'm here worried about myself only and the banks of Lot 4 and what it will do to our farm and our area there, but that's just not true. Thank you.
Ms. Hendrick.
Good evening. My name is David Klein, and I live at 398 Branham Mill Road. It's been a while since I've spoken to you in a public forum, but I come tonight thanking you for your work, and I'm over. As an elected county official, I understand how thankless this job can be. I know how many hours you put into it, and I'm grateful for the work you do. Tonight, I would like to speak to you as not only a citizen of the unincorporated county of Sumner, but also as a commissioner who represents 8,000 or so citizens and the entire county. And I would like to appeal to your civic duty and your citizen representation. We all ran to represent the people of you, and in your case, the city of Gallatin, mine in the 6th District of Sumner County. And I want to appeal to what's happening to our county. As it appears, the city of Gallatin races to annex every square foot of their urban growth boundary that they can take. At least that's the way it seems to a lot of people. The people that are in this audience tonight, and I have seen come meeting after meeting after meeting, are represented by you, and they have strong opinions on what is happening in the city of Gallatin. I ran some numbers this afternoon. In 1990, the population of this town was 19,000. In 2000, it was 23,000. In 2010, it was 30,500. And in 2020, it was 44,700. That's a 46% increase in 10 years. And at the rate we are annexing and constructing residential houses at the moment, it will double by the time 2030 rolls around. I don't know what, as the city leaders, your end goal is, but I can tell you as a person that came from high density in Southern California 25 years ago, the results are not great. We don't need more roofs for residential houses. Currently, the census tells us, as does Forward Sumner, that on any given workday, we send over 50,000 of our residents outside of the county because there is no work in Sumner County. We're working on that at a county level, and I would ask that you place your focus on industrial and commercial jobs for the people so that they're not commuting an hour and a half a day to Nashville or Bowling Green, but can stay close to home where they can live, spend their money, and live their lives. The other thing that a lot of people don't understand is that we have ways to curb growth that makes total sense. I want to dispel some of the belief systems that I've heard in this this chamber. One was we can't stop the growth. You can stop the growth, or at least slow it down. You have the power of zoning, you have the power of moratoriums, and you have the power of impact fees. There's a moratorium now in northern Sumner County because there's no water up in Oak Grove. We have a desperate situation with schools heading very soon here. At the rate we're going, we cannot continue to build $200 million complexes like we have built in Liberty Creek. It's just not a feasible thing. The other thing is, what will this body's legacy be? If we double the population of Gallatin by 2030, how will this body be remembered? Will they be remembered as the people who tried to keep the fiber and the whole feeling of Gallatin as it has been, that has drawn so many people here? Or will it be the group that grew it so fast that it was out of control? This is a beautiful place to live. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. But I'm asking you, please, please, please consider these annexations. Try to slow down the growth. What's happening on Lock 4, what I saw is possibly the annexation of Lower Station Camp Road. These things, we don't have to rush into this. What is the end goal?
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Your time
Thank
is
you.
up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Todd Alexander, 217 Strange Circle here in Gallatin. I've been trying to wrap my head around our zoning ordinances and this units per acre. And as I read through the ordinances, that's some really exciting reading. But I live on a 1 acre lot. I have exactly 1 acre, and I have a house and a garage built on it. If I was to build another house in my front yard, according to the way we compute units per acre, I would have 2 units per acre, which everybody seems to like. But the reality of it is, I would ruin both of those houses. It would be horrible to have two houses built on the front corner of my lot, because there's a creek, Town Creek runs through my property. I've got a driveway, a parking area, a gazebo, and other things that take away from where you could build. So I could build 2 units per acre, but it would look horrible for both houses. Nobody would want either one of those houses. And so I began to look, and I've talked to you before about what I call buildable and unbuildable acres with the banks of Lock 4, the TVA right away I consider unbuildable. And so I began to look, and as I'm reading these ordinances, like I noticed one that jumped out at me as ordinance 06.09.130, site development regulations for planned residential. And the verbiage is there for lot size. And so it uses 2 terms. It uses gross acreage and net acreage. And it even defines that the net acreage is taken away open space, is taken away streets and those kind of things. And it screamed to me that this is our zoning. Why don't we have something like that really depicts how these developments are going to look? That seems so important to me, is the look of these developments. When you look at banks of Lock 4, you've got 695, I believe, on tonight's proposal, single-family homes on 147 acres that they're building on. Given the streets and all those kind of things, let that in there, that's 4.7 homes per acre. That's going to feel cramped. It's not going to look like anything you see on Lock 4. I don't think it's going to look anything like the spacious homes you see on Nickel Circle that is just nearby. And so Maybe I need to spend some time with our new planner and let him educate me, but it seems like we need to come up with some kind of gross and net units per acre about what these developments really look like. I sent a video today of traffic on Lock 4 yesterday as I was trying to leave work for an appointment. I appreciate Vice Mayor Love and Councilman Jovance for their responses. And lastly, with time left over, Mayor, I was brokenhearted last week at your comments. You said March the 10th was your absolute favorite day of the year. We were driving back from a meeting out of town, and I leaned into the radio as it was playing the council meeting, and I knew you were going to say because it's Todd's birthday. But I got beat out by daylight savings time. Maybe next year.
not know.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mary Janung. I live at 1100 Lock 4 Road. And I want to talk about not only the banks of Lock 4 Road, but also Woods Ferry and the surrounding area. Woods Ferry, I'll start with Woods Ferry. Woods Ferry Road is a very, very narrow road, and it's very dangerous. When you're out there and you're driving down and you're going around the curve, many times cars will be over on the other side like they do on Lock 4, and there's nowhere for anyone to go. It has flooding. There's areas that it will flood. I know Mr. Kirkpatrick is trying to annex his farm, which is his right. But there are a lot of issues with that area as far as development. I saw excavating going on when I was out there the other day, and it has, in my opinion, taken away the beauty of this whole area. So as I move over to Lock 4 Road, I want to go back to December 9th. I was affected by the tornado. I know you probably already know that, but I was in my basement, and if I didn't have a basement, I'd have probably been killed, my husband and I both. And I prayed that God that saved us and spared us. But the concern I had was the destruction and the path and what's going to happen to the people across the street from me, because that tornado went right straight across. And I just can't imagine. I know that you can't predict tornadoes and all that, but we're really in a tornado alley. And so I would consider that if you're going to look at doing houses over there, you're going to have to do something about a safe place for these people to go if there is a tornado, because it will definitely kill them. I also want to talk about traffic. Somebody made a comment on Facebook about Mr. Todd had said there were 6,500 trips a day. And I said, imagine sitting on your porch and you're enjoying 6,500 cars going by your porch every day. And somebody commented, well, you may as well just live on 386. And that made a lot of sense, because I thought, yeah, it feels like it. And it's getting more and more traffic on that area. It's difficult for me to get out of my driveway. It's scary. I'm very nervous about getting killed out there. It's been that way for years, but it's gotten worse. But my final thing, and I go back to this, is if you continue to develop all this land, you have got to remember that we have an ecosystem. We have got to protect our ecosystem. We have to protect our wetlands. We have to protect our underground streams. We have to protect the trees and all that, because that is what gives you life. It gives all human and animal life. And if we don't have the vegetation and the things that you need to sustain life, you may as well hang it up, because you're not going to survive very long. Our community is becoming ill. It's becoming sick in its health of its environment. And we really owe it to our kids and to the future of our community to protect that. And my final thing is about business. So I learned I was watching one of the TV news stations, and they were talking that 17% across the country is, home foreclosures is up 17% in the country in the month of January. People are losing their jobs. They cannot afford all these homes. My concern is they're going to go in and build all these tract houses, and they're going to end up being rentals, and we're going to have a lot of foreclosures, and it will become in a disarray. I just want you to think about that. The developer has a very low rating for developing, and their homes have a very poor rating. And you got to consider all this when you're looking at this, not just, throwing a development in there. And I appreciate everything you've done, because you listened to me for 2 years about this, and I know you've put up with me. But I appreciate you doing that, because I know it's not easy to listen to me come up here all the time trying to plead with you to really consider, our feelings and what's going on with us. And I do appreciate what you do, because I know it's not easy. Thank you.
Ms. Janone.
Carolyn Seagraff at 1066 Lakeshore Drive here in Gallatin. And I too have come up and spoke about my opinion of the development. But there's a few other items that I've been able to do a little research. First of all, my research was based on the previous traffic report that was done by the developers. And I wasn't here, I've been working out of state, so I didn't get a chance to update it. I understand that there's been a reduction in number of houses, so not all of this is quite as heavy as it was, but it's still extremely impactful in terms of what it's going to do for Lot 4 Road. And in particular, we will get down to what it will do for Lakeshore Drive. First of all, I just like, in the report, it talks about traffic calming, which just means that the city, I think city traffic consultant is working on a report to kind of determine what level that's going to contribute to the rate of traffic on Lot 4 and in that area. And it says that it's going to contribute to, they plan to contribute to improvement to this area by the 7th phase, which occurs after approximately 630 residential units are occupied. So a lot of the development of the roads, Nichols Lane and Hancock, that's not planned to happen until there's considerable amount of occupancy of those houses. So until then, you're just dealing with that added traffic without the additional support of adjusting the roadway. Also, the report indicated that there's AM and PM peak hours traffic. So at the time of this report, they were expecting approximately 6,520 new vehicle trips per day. And then in that morning, the AM peak, they said it'd be approximately, in that hour, approximately 472 vehicles. And then in the evening, the PM, approximately 669 total trips. I don't know what it is right now, and I did talk to someone in planning a couple weeks ago, and they weren't able to tell me what our current number of, what the traffic is, but that seems like an awful large increase for an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening. And again, that won't occur until single-family housing, until there's a certain level of occupancy, of course, and that's going to occur over 5 years. So for 5 years, we're going to be dealing with the construction and waiting to have a lot of this infrastructure completed, which I can't imagine. If you go down Lot 4 now and there's a FedEx truck in the road, it blocks traffic and you're backed up. I mean, FedEx can't even, so I can't imagine all this construction vehicles going for 5 years and then working on that, but I realize that's just part of progress. Also, it talked about the intersection site distance analysis. They said that right now, the site distance available from the driveway A, which is the drive out of the development onto Lot 4, will be 50 feet short. So the study recommends that they have advanced warning signs into Lot 4 subdivision and at the intersection to advise people to reduce their speed. So my thought on that is ask people in Belvedere and Peninsula how that lower speed distance or speed limit is doing for them. I know it's been an ongoing problem, everything from putting speed bumps up to trying the roundabouts, and nothing has really been very successful, I don't think. Also, they recommend, I would like to find out, they did a visibility study, of course, on Nichols Lane and Aqua Drive and Hancock. but they have not said anything about Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive, you pull out, you have Peninsula, you have Belvedere, you have Lot 4 traffic headed south. And then, of course, you have the traffic coming around that curve on Lot 4. So you've got that intersection traffic. There's a lot of nice natural growth there along the town creek, which I would hate to see them take down because that gives us a little bit of a sound barrier. The increased noise of traffic in our area just because of the traffic on Lot 4. And then actually, I think we're picking up traffic from 386 or South Water in that area too. It's an increase. Without that growth, we're going to have that increased traffic noise. So I don't want to cut down all that growth, but yet it blocks in the spring, and you'll see it starting soon, it blocks your visibility. And there's no plan that I've seen to address any of that traffic increase or how we're going to get out with all that extra traffic coming through. And we all know that people are going to cut through Belvedere and Peninsula. And you also have Harris. So there's 3 roads there that will bring you right out to Lot 4 right before you get to Lakeshore Drive. And then I guess my last comments are just about community safety. You know, I know they talked about the tornado. Well, it doesn't have to be a tornado. It can be a fire. It can be any type of disaster. If that road, if Lot 4 is blocked and you have that whole subdivision over there, there's not going to be any access to it. So again, from a safety standpoint, I think you really need to look at all those factors. Okay,
Thank you, Ms. Seagram.
okay, thank you.
I'm Lina Marler. I live at 1512 Cherokee Road. So I come here tonight, of course, pleased with the fact the townhomes were removed from the plan, all in a week's time, which is pretty impressive. However, this plan still will make way too much traffic through this area. So, in my opinion, 2 homes an acre is the zoning that makes sense. So, looking at the new plan, I was kind of shocked to see that 226 homes have 41-foot wide lots with, of course, the 5-foot easement required by the city on each side. That's an extremely narrow lot. A 31-foot home is not big. Those are very tiny lots, and when you think of 226 in the development, it's a very different picture than some of the big plats I've seen with all the green spaces and the trees. I don't even know where you'll put trees on that lot. I don't understand. I think we're just going to be a lot of rooftops when you're flying over. Sorry. And my other question was how many feet will be between the homes on these tiny lots? It would be good to know. I doubt it's very much. So I and all of us here opposing the zoning change, I first want to say we appreciate so much the council members, Love, Javance, Hayes, and Fennell, who I realize I've been mispronouncing your name, but that have been consistently over the last year and a half stating that they believe that the zoning needs to stay at 2 or less per acre. Councilman Fennell, as recently as the last meeting and was quoted in the paper last Thursday as well. I can't even imagine the pressure that you all have on you. However, at the heart of it all is the traffic being put into an area that cannot handle it. It's an area with beauty, recreational opportunities that all Gallatin residents can enjoy. 2 of you are at-large councilmen. I'm sure this is a really big job representing people from all over Gallatin. The thing about this development is that with 2 stories on WKRN and more to come, and numerous newspaper articles and social media dialogue, which is everywhere, once the streets back up, they will know why. They may not have come to all the meetings. There's been a lot of people, but they've been going on for 2 years. It's really hard to come to all the meetings. But they are now aware. There's signs everywhere that, the level of awareness has gone up. So as already very congested Nashville Pike, where Lot 4 intersects, becomes a nightmare, as well as, already the famous Hancock intersection, they will know what caused it. The people on all the cut-through streets that will no longer be able to go walking or their kids to ride their bikes, they'll be frustrated. This development has gotten the attention of everyone. I would go so far as to say that it's struck a nerve with people in Gallatin. They're tired. They're tired of what developers and out-of-town investors want coming before what is good for our town. In fact, this is the case all over Middle Tennessee. If you turn the news on, you'll see stories. It's happening everywhere. People are waking up. It's kind of a watershed moment. So I close with this. As you know, I'm going to talk about this. I'm still waiting for the solution to the cut-through streets to include Peninsula, Belvedere, and Woods Ferry. I figure it's because there isn't one. I have included this in every single one of my speeches, which at this point I think is close to 10. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If there is a solution, I don't mean a study that we're going to do to look at it. They've had 2 years. What are you going to do for these people so that you don't destroy their neighborhood? Thank you for your time, and I do appreciate all that y'all do.
My name is Allison Turner. I live on Lot 4 Road, 1289 Lot 4 Road. Have lived there my entire life. And I happen to be a civil engineer. I do land development work. I'm part of the problem for Franklin and Brentwood. So those are areas that I first started working in. So I've seen this happen. I've seen where it goes. And I know we can't avoid development. Development's part of it. People are flocking to Tennessee faster than we can accommodate them. Our children are growing up here. They need places to live. We need homes for them. That's just reality. This is a large, beautiful piece of property that has great potential. And I'm concerned that DR Homes is not the home builder we want for this development. This property deserves a more custom fit. And I know we can't control who develops it, but they don't have a great reputation if you go and look at complaints online. So that's my point about that. I think 2 units per acre is better. I'm glad to see a lot of open space is remaining. I have concerns about some of the open space with a home builder like DR Homes, and I haven't worked with DR Homes before. I haven't worked with them specifically, but with other home builders of similar type. They come in and they just cut the properties down so they can do slab graded houses, concrete slabs, no basements or any of that kind of thing. They don't fit their project to the land. They make it fit their product. So a lot of the open space that currently has, nice rolling hills is going to be 3-to-1 slopes. That's basically unusable. So that's part of my concern. The other major concern is going down Lot 4 Road. I live on Lot 4 Road. I'm up and down probably 6 round trips a day, contributing to the traffic. Coming to the intersection of Aqua Drive is a nightmare. Putting that intersection in that location, I can't even fathom what that's going to look like with every other car from that subdivision coming through there, because they're going to come through there. They're not going through Peach Valley unless they're going to 109, unless they're headed south. So that is a major concern. And telling everyone else that they have to slow down, why? Move it down the road. It doesn't belong there. It's not an appropriate location unless you plan on knocking that hill down and making it an appropriate curve, because it's a blind curve as it is, or vertical curve. So that is a concern. Additional concerns. Clear Lake Meadows has to be extended. We put it in the wrong place to begin with, against traffic warnings. It's in the wrong place. It needs to be extended. And if it was extended, I would have much less problem with this development, because that's where the traffic needs to go, especially if you're going to put this kind of density in that area. And Mr. Kirkpatrick's right over there. He's ready to develop his property. So it's time to make that commitment to make that road happen. Additionally, the property needs to connect to Bell Road, which is supposed to connect all the way through to Cumberland Place North. So I don't have a lot of confidence that those things will happen, because the city typically says they're going to happen and then they never happen, time after time. Next, to try and move on. Talking about density. All the developments listed on here, with the exception of Cumberland Place North, are all on an arterial roadway. That is a major roadway. They all have commercial components nearby. So higher density makes sense in those locations. This is a rural character area. I mean, I live on 1.5 acres, plus core property around us makes us about 2 acres. Most of the properties near us are larger. Even if they say they're R15, their properties are larger because they have core property incorporated in them. So this is going to feel very, very different to the character that we have there now. So even more reason to make the lots that are surrounding on the edges larger and more consistent with what's there now. I have children in Gallatin High School. It's overcrowded. There is no chance that our county is going to be forward thinking and do anything about that. It's not going to happen. not in the time that my children will still be in school for the next 7 years. So what are we going to do about it? I know it's not our responsibility, but it is a problem that is coming to our students that live in our town. We're overwhelmed. They can't handle any more students. We have the students with the highest need in the county, and they do nothing. So our county is neglecting our school. We can't handle this growth right now without some help. We need forward thinking from our county, and we need pressure from the city to make that happen if we're going to continue to develop at this rate. Thank you.
My name is Gwen Tate. I live at 1521 Cherokee Road. I'd like to quote to you from the Gettysburg Address, that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. This is one of the best known speeches in world history and perhaps one of the greatest and most influential statements for any form of democracy. I've been to many, many of these meetings, and I have been astounded at how naive I was about government for the people. You've seen many more people than tonight here, many, many times, including myself, begging you, pleading with you to listen to us. You've heard statistics on traffic, on wildlife, on endangered species, all those things. I've moved here from California 28 years ago. I have a master's degree in teaching. I can teach anything from pre-kindergarten through community college. I had no idea how naive I was about the real workings of local government. And when it comes to listening, I contacted the council person from my own area many, many months ago and was told that they represented all of Gallatin and it really wouldn't matter that the vote that person had would not be in support of all that was being asked for by constituents in my area. That's heartbreaking to me. Of the government for the people, where does it exist in Gallatin? I'd like to hope that you've done due diligence. I know that we already have one development from D.R. Horton in Gallatin. And if you look at lawsuits across the country, from Utah, South Carolina, a whole subdivision of theirs has filed a class action lawsuit because of the quality of the construction. If you've done due diligence, you'll know that homes in Clarksville in our most recent tornado were because of lousy, cheap construction. I hope that you will consider this. I will hope that you will realize the voice of the people and take action as they've requested. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Casey Siebers. I live at 1139 Steam Plant Road. I did not plan on speaking tonight, but I felt inclined to after hearing some of my fellow citizens express their concern. I have recently started coming to these meetings because I have learned that instead of sitting on the sidelines and complaining with my fellow citizens, I should come here and speak and try to be involved. So that's what I'm doing. I'll start off by saying last meeting, I was very disappointed in hearing the communication and the backhanded comments from the council members and the mayor. There was one council member that was objecting to the developments, and from sitting in the galley over there, it appeared that he was being mocked for expressing his objection. That was very disappointing to hear. I went home, told my husband, called my mom, told all of my friends, you guys need to start coming to these meetings and seeing how disgusting this is. It was not okay. It broke my heart to see that. You have heard all of these citizens express their concern about these developments. Who are you guys really working for? Are you working for we, the people, or are you guys working for somebody else? Because from an outsider, from a new person coming here to these meetings, it certainly does not feel that you are working for us. What I will say, like the couple other people that came and spoke, I am from Southern California. I moved here years ago. I warn you and I beg you, do not let this turn into that. That is a disaster. Every one of you there know that it is a disaster in Southern California. None of us want that. Please, please listen to us and stop. Stop this chaos. You can slow it. You can do things about it. We understand that growth is necessary, but you heard, there are no jobs for people. Get us jobs. Let the schools get developed. Let everything develop at a slower pace. It doesn't have to be this fast. I didn't move here 25 years ago like some other people did. I moved here in the last decade, and I will tell you, it is shocking to me to see how much this has changed. We moved here to be able to raise our kid in a small town. We have multiple kids in a small town. We live on a farm. I can't tell you how many people say, oh, I guarantee you, you guys are gonna sell your farm because the money's too big. We won't, but that worries me. What is going on here? What is truly going on? I will leave you with this. I beg you guys, beg you to please listen to your citizens. I haven't heard one person that's been supporting any of the development. If the people that are supporting this development and all these developments, are they still residing here? Or are they not even citizens? I'm sure some of them are, but do they reside here? Are they impacted by this? Are their kids, their grandkids impacted by this? Probably not. I beg you guys to please listen to us. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Brown and the City Council. I'm Mary Simpson. I live at 1275 Lot 4 Road, and I'm speaking against the banks of Lot 4 development. We can't make more land, therefore it should be very precious to us. As you know, the Green Farm is beautiful Lakeview property, and Old Hickory Lake is one of Gallatin's greatest assets and is featured in many pictures and is referenced many times in Plan Gallatin. I reviewed it this week. On page 37, Plan Gallatin states, Gallatin's unique places like the historic square, Old Hickory Lake, and rolling farmland give the city its unique physical character and should be preserved for generations to come. Wow. The Green Farm is both Lakeview and beautiful rolling farmland. Therefore, this land is a very precious commodity. An R40 or R20 zoning type, 40,000 or 20,000 square foot lots with nicer single-family homes would be so much better suited to preserve the characteristics of this beautiful, special tract of land and would be such a better fit for the existing neighborhood. For example, take a look at Cumberland Place North. It's a nice development with 1.96 density, and it's at the end of Lot 4 Road. It fits the neighborhood. Just to give you a visual, just because they make string bikinis in my size doesn't mean that I should be wearing one. It doesn't fit my body style and it doesn't fit my age. And it's the same thing with the Banks of Lot 4 project. It's exactly the same. Not a good fit for this beautiful Lakeview rolling farmland and not for the existing neighborhood. This development would be much better suited for an area like Greenlee or Albert Gallatin, where the roads would be better able to handle the traffic of a development this size and where there aren't existing neighborhoods. The R8 PRD zoning, along with the Banks of Lot 4 master plan, may have a density of, I'm not sure what it is now, 2.5, 2.3, but those 695 units are planned to be all slammed together with as little as, I think, 5-foot side yards on some of the lots. It's really small. All of that green space, they say, wouldn't it be better to have some green space in your own yard? Your little ones could play in their backyards while you were cooking supper if they had a yard. You're not going to want to let them go on their own to the green space playground while you cook supper where you won't be able to see them and won't be able to keep an eye on them. Miles of sidewalks, walking trails, they say, available to the public, they say. Seriously, how many people would drive their cars over to this development to walk these sidewalks and trails? The citizens of Gallatin most probably will eventually be responsible for keeping these sidewalks and trails in good shape. I doubt the Banks of Lot 4's HOA will want that financial responsibility. Lot 4 road is adequate, they say. A traffic study initiated by the City of Gallatin in 2007 said that it's not adequate. The Banks of Lot 4 won't generate that much more traffic on Lot 4 road, they say. The developer's own traffic study has estimated this development would generate approximately additional 6,500 trips per day on Lock 4 Road. This development will be nice, they say. D.R. Horton is America's builder, they say. D.R. Horton has a 1.3-star rating with Consumer Affairs, a 1.13 BBB rating, a 1.5 rating on Trustpilot, and a 1.3 rating on Yelp. And I think somebody else mentioned in South Carolina, over 200 homeowners were awarded $16.1 million after D.R. Horton was found guilty of negligence after homes in the Rose Hill development were allegedly left falling apart from poor construction. It won't do any good for us to go to city council meetings to speak against the development, they say. As a result, those of us who are coming to speak against this development are actually serving as voices for many other Lot 4 residents. And we hope you're listening to us. We hope we are being heard. Well, I say, and I truly hope you will join me in saying, that Gallatin can do better. Gallatin deserves better. Let's get this right. Please vote no for this development. Let's wait, get the right type of development for this tract of beautiful land, not just for existing Lot 4 residents, but for the city of Gallatin. Zone the green farm either R40 or R20. Hold off for a development with 1 to 2 houses an acre with a more reputable builder of better quality homes. A nicer subdivision that we can all be proud of and would be more suitable to this prime Lakeview property and the existing neighborhood. And if you're still not convinced, just imagine me wearing my string bikini. Thank you.
Ms. Simpson, I appreciate probably the most entertaining analogy that's ever been brought. So, is there anyone else wishing to speak with this evening? Okay, seeing no one, public recognition will be closed. A couple of things I do feel the need to say following that. Economic Development Agency, we apparently need to do a better job marketing because there are a lot of jobs open in the city of Gallatin with our industry. I think we generate, excuse me, I'm not stopping myself yet. I think we generate close to 50% of all the industrial property tax and more than that of the personal property tax for the entire county. And we have jobs open within the city government, and I think many of our employers do as well. We in the city of Gallatin have the unique distinction in the county, maybe not, maybe Portland as well, where our daytime population actually grows. We grow by about 10,000 people, about 20,000, I'm giving rough numbers. I think maybe it was 13 and 20 or something like that, but come in, leave the city and then 20 come in. So our daytime population actually grows because of us having a job center. And that's part of the reason that we've been able to keep our taxes low in this community is because we have that balance between jobs and between industrial residential property and sales tax. I do want to mention too that we do not have the option for moratorium or impact fees. That is not legally allowed to us as we do not have infrastructure shortages that would allow us to do a moratorium, and impact fees are not allowed for us at this time. I think those are the two things. Oh, and I would mention too, because it does always make me sad because people, I mean, every time there's a development, people are always against it. No one ever comes in for it because nobody wants whatever's built next to them to be built next to them. That is human nature. But at the same time, we have a lot of people that would like for their children and their parents and their siblings and their friends to be able to live in this community. And the pressure has become so heavy because there are so many people moving here and essentially taking up home stock that those friends and relatives of people who are already here could be utilizing, but it's escalated the prices because there is a shortage. There's a estimated 4 million unit shortage nationwide, and then in Middle Tennessee, it's exacerbated because of so many people migrating to this area. So I think those are the comments following the public comments. Related to mayor's comments, I do have just a few things to share with you this evening. I do want to mention to you all that at the start of this meeting, the young 15-year-old man missing in the beach area was still missing. The search was continuing. Gallatin and multiple other agencies are lending support to that search. I know that prayers are appreciated, and I listened to Chief Deputy Craddock on a press conference a little earlier today, and he put out a good reminder that wherever you are, just check your spaces where somebody might hide, because the initial presumption was that he wouldn't have gone far, but after they've covered that area, they keep widening their search. So regardless of where you are, check that garage that you don't go into or that storage shed, just to help them locate this young man. And I know your prayers are appreciated. And then I wanted to share with this body that Tammy Kellogg does continue to improve, is still in the hospital, and she and David do appreciate your thoughts and prayers. A few events that I want to share with you upcoming this Friday. I think Chief Bandy and Chief Beeman and somebody from the Sheriff's Office are going to be doing the Good Morning Gallatin Government Relations meeting, talking about public safety. It's at the Hampton Inn at 7:30. That's hosted by the Chamber. If you'd like to attend, you can contact them. This Saturday, our local American Legion has their monthly breakfast. There's also the inaugural Heart of the Wolf Fun Run at Liberty Creek campus. That's from 9 to 11 a.m. On that evening, it's the Spirits of Sumner Historic Haunts bus tour, sponsored by the Sumner Museum. For this council, on Monday and Tuesday of next week is the Tennessee Municipal League's Legislative Conference. There's a lot of legislative activity this year that you might be interested in knowing about that could impact municipalities. And they will be giving updates about that. Also, Congressman Rose will be one of our speakers at that event. Excuse me, too much. If you'd like to attend, please contact Angela and she'll get reservations for you. On the 6th is Chuck Stewart's birthday. On the 9th is the Gallatin Shamrock Run. Always a fun event. It's 5K and 10K, sponsored by the Chamber, supporting their foundation, which gives money to schools for teachers' projects they submit for grants, and the Chamber gives them out. Great event and perfect cause. Also on that Saturday is the County Sumner Irish Festival at Bledsoe Fort Historic Park. Excuse me. I am so sorry. And then that evening is the inaugural house concert at Rosemont. That's from 5 until 8 p.m. You can contact Rosemont. I believe, is it free? No. It is not free. How does someone make reservations? Vice Mayor Love. Or get
If
tickets?
if you're on Facebook, I know that you could go to Historic Rosemont's site, and there's I think it's Eventbrite, maybe. You can buy your tickets through there. This is the same type concert that has been so popular at Rock Castle for years and is always sold out. So it's the first one at Rosemont, but very, very popular, and we encourage everybody to at least look into going.
Thank you. Thank you for filling in the details on that. And then as the 10th, I will remind you, is the time change. Daylight savings time begins, and of course, Mr. Alexander's birthday. So, and then the following day is Councilman Phan's birthday, and then the Chamber of Commerce luncheon on that Monday. Again, we will have a city employee speaking at that with Richard DePriest and some other special guests, because we are talking about a very hot topic. It's called Talkin' Trash, and it's happening at the Epic Event Center, and that's the Chamber of Commerce luncheon if you would like to attend. That will conclude the mayor's comments. I'll move to the regular agenda. I have had a request to move item number 7 up to the top of the agenda without objection by this body. Are y'all okay doing that? All right, we will begin with item number 7 then. So item number 7 is Resolution R2402-19. It's a resolution approving a waiver of the surety for the Sumner County Resource Authority, and Mr. Brian Rose, our city planner, for that.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor and council members. So this is Resolution R2402-19. RASCO, the Resource Authority of Sumner County, and they are located at 625 Rappahannock Wire Road. They're expanding the transfer station, and they're requesting a waiver of the site surety, which is required by Article 15, Section 15.03.080 of the zoning ordinance. It basically requires some surety money to be put forward for improvements. The approximate amount of those surety requirements would be about $10,000 to $15,000. Of course, RASCO is a governmental type entity, and so they're requesting a waiver from that fee. Ryan Maloney is here representing them, the Rasco, and would like to say a few words, I believe.
What are the questions from this body? I mean, I feel like with us being a partner in this effort that pays into it on a regular basis, that we would have influence if anything were to go wrong. Anything you want to add to what Mr. Rose offered to us?
Mr. Rose covered it very well. I'll say good evening to the mayor and council tonight. I'm Ryan Maloney with Griggs Maloney, engineer for the Resource Authority. We're excited about the project. The waiver is something that would help the owner and I think help the community at large. And so we appreciate you considering the request. And so if there's any questions specifically about the project, I'd be happy to answer them.
One? Entertain a motion to move it to council?
Move it to council.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Love, second by Councilwoman George. Anything further? All in favor of moving Resolution R2402-19 forward to council, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Okay, we'll return to the top of the agenda, which is ordinance 02402-6. This is an ordinance appropriating $49,500 from equipment sales towards the purchase of a single-axle dump truck with snowplow and spreader. Mr. DePriest, our Public Works Superintendent.
Good evening, Council. Richard DePriest, Public Works Superintendent. This ordinance, beginning of last fiscal year, you all appropriated $340,000 total for the replacement of a 1992 and a 1995 model dump truck. That number was based on quotes we received back in February of last year. By the time the new fiscal year rolled around, we had a huge increase in price. So that's the reason I'm back requesting more money to purchase to replace the 1995 model.
Motion to send to council.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fennell, second by Councilman Juvance. Any questions? Okay, motion to move forward ordinance 02402-6. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It passes unanimously. Item 2 is ordinance 02402-11, ordinance appropriating $75,000 from drug fund restricted fund balance to drug fund transportation equipment. Chief Bandy.
Yes, I'm asking permission to take the money that we already have in our budget and move it to the vehicle transportation equipment line item so we can use it to finish up some products, some fleet projects. I'll spit it out in a minute. So.
Motion to move to council.
Everybody all at once. Motion by Councilman Juvance, second by Vice Mayor Love. Any discussion? Resolution R2402- what did I say? I don't know what I'm doing. I was looking down. Okay, ordinance 02402-11. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 3 is resolution R2402-18. Mr. Tuttle, a resolution approving a waiver of the site plan application fee in the amount of $300 for the approximately 0.47 acres City of Gallatin Public Works and Engineering parking lot expansion located at 633 Long Hollow.
Very similar to the Rasco request. Planning staff, planning department requires a $300 application fee to develop the parking lot that we're looking to finish out in the Public Works complex, and we're hoping that we can waive that.
Motion to send it on.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Hayes, second by Councilwoman George. Any discussion? This is resolution R2402-18. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes unanimously. Item 4, bike lane striping along US 31E.
So I'm probably not as prepared on this one as I should be. This is a little bit of a rushed item. We got contacted by TDOT not too long ago that they have found the funds to repave 31E from basically Vic Jenkins, where there's a pavement break there all the way down to Greensboro Drive. So it's a very big paving job, and we would like to take advantage of that paving job, incorporate into their plans, striping plan that would make it a little bit more accommodating to bicycles on the shoulders, where we would have bike lanes striped. We don't actually have to pay for that portion of it, but to incorporate into TDOT's paving plans, we do have to create a plan that they can send out to bid. And since it's a rush order, it costs, there's a little bit more of a premium there. And we've contacted an engineering group that we have worked with in the past and gotten a proposal from them. And it's about $60,000 to develop those plans to be included with TDOT's paving project there. We do have some funds available in our paving line just for ease of moving it forward and making sure that we can meet TDOT's deadline. I would like to ask for permission to use those funds to go towards this. I'm hoping that I can negotiate a little bit with this engineering group, but we do need to act quickly if we do want to have it included. But that would be the worst case scenario would be the $60,000. Just to kind of give you an idea where we are with the paving. Like I said, I'm a little bit not quite. I wish I would have been able to give you a list of what we have done and what we're planning to do, but we've got several roads. I don't want to read it all to you. Several roads that have been paved that you approved in the fall last year, and over half of what you approved will be paved by the end of April. Some of the roads that we are kind of got on hold doing a little bit of ADA prep work and all that's going to happen later this summer would be Maple Street and Hancock is probably the big ticket that is a little bit further off. But we were able to find some savings with the paving of Greenlee. It wasn't as much as we estimated, and we actually feel like we have close to $300,000 to $400,000 that we're going to be able to come back to you with the recommendation to spend. And so this would be, the 60 grand would be out of that money that we have available or will have available when we come back to you later in the year to say, you know, this is what we want to spend the rest of the money on. So it's a little bit long-winded. I hope you understood where I was coming from. I'll throw this in there too. I guess have made the decision because I'm sure that you guys will agree with me, but another thing that is going to happen when TDOT repaves Highway 31E is that the sections down here where you've got the intersection with State Route 25 and North Water, where we have the stamped asphalt crosswalks that have been down there, TDOT is willing to put that back, but only if we pay for it. And we've gotten some estimates for that, I don't feel like it's worth it. I'm sure you're going to agree with me. The estimate is close to $250,000 to have the stamped asphalt crosswalks put back with the TDOT job. And I didn't feel like that it was worth that to have those kind of crosswalks put back. So they will stripe back a regular style crosswalk that'll be more like we call it a ladder style. So it'll have white lines with the stronger lines that are longitudinal. So it will have a crosswalk stripe back. It just won't be the pretty brick red colors that are on Highway 31E. I would say that we still want to stick with that kind of thing when we get on into the downtown area, like at Locust or on North Water and Franklin, when we get into those lesser traveled roads, don't have as much truck traffic, and those asphalt crosswalks don't take as much of a beating, and they hold up the life of the pavement, which is what you're hoping happens. So if you want to use the other funds that I was talking about earlier, the $300,000 to $400,000 that we have available to go towards that, I'd be happy to push that in there, but I didn't feel like it was the right way to go. So could I have your permission to use the $60,000 in our paving line to contract with an engineer to move ahead and get some bike lane plans incorporated with them?
Move that we send this on to council.
Second.
I don't think we necessarily have to do that because it's in his budget. I think he's just asking for.
Yeah, the way that we do the paving program is we bring you a list, and you've already voted on the money, but we try to make sure that we keep you informed on how we're spending that money, and that's what this, just really more permission. So if you want to, I do think that it's appropriate to give me a vote of approval, but it doesn't have to be a resolution that moves on.
No. We can just make a motion to approve the, here.
Do I need to amend it?
No.
I move that we give Nick permission to go ahead with the bike lane striping.
Nick, I was writing something down. You said it was Vic
Have a
Jenkins
motion.
Ware.
Greensboro Drive.
And a second by Councilman Hayes.
Carter.
Oh, I thought it was you. Now, Mr. Fennell, what were you saying?
I was just asking him, I heard Vic Jenkins, but I was writing
Oh,
something
Vic
down. I was
Jenkins to
wondering where it
Greensboro,
was.
okay. All right.
The
Mr.
limits of
Javons?
the 31E paving.
Thank you, Mayor. There was a great stuff on TV about our new sensors to get the road, and you show a picture of the screen where all our roadway was, and there was a lot of red and amber in there, and I think that money will better serve taking care of what we have. I know even if you said you have surplus, but than putting that on a paper to get a bike way. So I think we should put the money, in the road more than engineering and painting. That's
I would suggest, I would like to take advantage of what TDOT's offering, and if you would like to keep 60 grand for paving, then I would suggest adding that as an appropriation. But 60 grand to have all this striping done is pennies on the dollar kind of move. So I think that it's worth us spending the money, but if you would like to appropriate it from somewhere else, then I would suggest doing that.
I'm going to follow your advice, but I think we probably will. I would rather put the money in a paving than just painting a bike lane. That's my
Sure.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor of supporting the $60,000 for the plans to do the bike lanes on 31, which scare me to death, but apparently bikers are cool with that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
His suggestion on getting rid of the brick crosswalk.
No.
You don't have to approve anything unless you want me to do that. You don't have to approve anything. They're going to repave it, and unless we give them money to include that asphalt stamping, it's not going to be done.
Which I don't think we should, because I see that intersection redeveloping someday,
Yeah.
with, yeah. I think what you recommended makes sense. I don't think we voted no on that. Were there any no's? Okay, so it passes unanimously.
While I'm standing here, the mayor brought up, and Pascal did, we had a lot of media coverage over the paving monitor system that we've had installed. I think for the most part, it was really great media coverage, and we look as a progressive community, which I feel like we are, in trying to monitor the system that we have and make good recommendations and spend money wisely. So if you haven't seen any of that stuff, the way that the media wanted to grab everyone's attention was to say potholes. So if you search for Gallatin potholes, you'll find many stories that I think almost every media outlet in local
Maybe that'll
media
help
outlet
keep people
covered,
from moving here.
including those that aren't local. It really caught some legs and ran pretty good. So, and I think most of the coverage was actually very, very good and well put together. They used some of Jeff's footage.
Charles did a great job, too.
Did, so I think
him
it was
doing that.
something that Gallatin could be proud of. So if you haven't seen that, I'd advise maybe do a little internet search and see some of those news stories. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Tuttle. Item 5 is ordinance 02402-12, an ordinance of the City of Gallatin, Sumner County, Tennessee, rezoning 14.057 acres from the CG Commercial General District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District, and 14.293 acres from the PGC Plan General Commercial District to the MRO Multiple Residential and Office District, with a preliminary master development plan for Gallatin Gap on 2 parcels totaling 35.01 acres located north of Nashville Pike and west of Harris Lane.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Mayor and members of the council. So this project is at the corner of Nashville Pike and Harris Lane. It's a project for a rezoning with a preliminary master development plan. The current zoning is CG and also PGC. commercial general and planned general commercial. The proposed zoning for the property is MRO, multiple residential and office district. There are proposed 372 multifamily units that are that would be within 11 buildings. That's along the northern side of the property. And then there would be 3 commercial lots proposed along the south side along Nashville Pike. Property has a stream feature, and that's generally located right there. And that just helps to kind of buffer the commercial areas from the residential areas as well. Plan Gallatin designates this area as part of the general urban community character area, which talks about having building heights from 2 to 4 stories, which this complies with, and also recommends a density of 5 to 15 dwelling units per acre, which this also complies with. The proposed density here would be 13.2 units per acre. The MRO zoning allows up to 14.52 acres, units per acre. So, and they also meet the buffer yard requirements, landscape plan, and you can see the buffer yards if you look close. It's just a green strip all the way around the exterior there. On January 24th, January 22nd, 2024, the Gallatin Planning Commission voted to not recommend approval based on some design characteristics that they had originally proposed for the buildings, not meeting the 70% brick requirement and so on and so forth. Since that time, the applicant has revised their design, and they do meet the brick requirement now. It's a much nicer design. And so, you know, these drawings kind of depict what they look like or what they would be looking like at this point in time. We've got representatives from GAP here, and Josh Rowland is the applicant from Kinley Horn. I believe he's got a presentation. I'm not sure if anyone else from their party wants to also present, but would like to give them some time to present their information that they've got regarding the project. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them as well.
Thank you. Representative or representatives, you're welcome to come forward. Introduce yourself, please, for the record.
Thanks. Good evening. My name is Josh Rowland. I'm with Kimley Horn. We're the representative for Wood Partners, who's the multifamily developer partnering with the GAP Corporation on this project. And GAP is, you know, they're selling the property. We have a pretty exciting opportunity with this project to have some employee units reserved for employees. So that's an exciting part of this partnership. But to give a kind of a brief overview of the property, we're requesting a rezoning this evening. It was mentioned that the property is currently zoned CG and PCG. This property's been zoned commercial for over a decade and has been vacant. A lot of that has to do with the encumbrances on the property. We have 2 stream corridors and some minor wetlands that has really kept the back part of the property inaccessible and not desirable for the commercial community. We've taken this opportunity to partner with GAP to provide some much needed housing for some of their employees and develop the front part of the property as commercial. The back is going to be rezoned to MRO that allows the multifamily, and the front stays as the PCG. The concept plan currently shows 3 parcels in the front slated for commercial uses. Those are conceptual at this time. Is it possible to get the presentation back for the GAP? Okay, thanks. No, that's the Lot 4. We had that up a second ago. Just what we had up before. Yeah. Let me get on the right slide here. There we go. Great. I'm going to get back to the site plan. This kind of better shows the layout of the property. I just wanted to revisit the Planning Commission meeting. You know, we actually had a very robust and productive conversation with Planning Commission. You know, some of the comments that came out of that were, you know, this is an appropriate place for density. This is appropriate use for the site. It meets some needs currently in the community. And really what we got hung up on was some of the architectural design. At the time, we were requesting a reduction in the masonry requirement for the multifamily units, and we heard loud and clear from Planning Commission that that is not what they wanted to see. And so what you see before you tonight on our new elevations meets that minimum requirement. So I think we're back before council tonight with a plan that is a step in the right direction. We're preserving open space corridors in the project in the two creek areas. We're providing commercial development along the front of the property, and we're providing a Class A multifamily project in the rear of the property. About 25 units are being discussed to be used for employee housing for GAP employees with this project. That's an overview of the project and our discussions with Planning Commission. We're here tonight to answer any additional questions.
What about the commercial out parcels? You didn't really,
What's that?
the out parcels.
So yes, we have 3 commercial out parcels in the front. We're currently showing a gas station, coffee pad site, and another quick serve restaurant. We have connections to those through the front of the property, and then along the frontage road to the west in front of Miracle Ford.
Mayor Brown, Andrew Steffens with Wood Partners. We have to be careful, obviously, for confidentiality with potential tenants in those spaces, but it is getting great attention and interest from some really high credit, good tenants that I think that the community would want to see. Up
I
and up.
have a good indication from a different direction, not from y'all, but I can't share it. So.
Me either.
Mr. Fennell, you had a question?
In the beginning, I thought that there was going to be more units. I thought 50% of this was going to be for employees, but you said 25 units. How many units do you have total that are supposed to be coming in there?
It's 372 and 25 units to GAP. It was,
So
never,
really
yeah,
it's-
50%, I'm not sure. That was never discussed. But, you know, I think early in the process, we were kind of working with GAP to understand what their needs truly are and how we could best provide what their needs are.
And one more question I got. If it failed in the planning part of it, why did they bring it here and not back to planning to get approved?
Well, because that's the process. I mean,
No, I understand that, but-
it comes here either way. They could have, you know, deferred and brought it back to planning. The planning, I mean, you can go back and listen to that meeting, and I remember Mr. Pereira saying, you know, this is the right place for this development. We
Well,
just don't like the aesthetic.
I'm for that being the right place,
It was
yes,
all
but-
about the aesthetic of the multifamily.
Right.
And I, for one, wasn't necessarily concerned about the brick requirement, just the aesthetic, because the building was pretty flat on all 4 sides and didn't have much dimension. There were some, there's a lovely corridor in the plan too. I don't know what else you have in your presentation up there, but, you know, you showed the entry.
Attachment 2.
Like that was the amenity, you know, the clubhouse amenity that was shown to us. And that was the corridor that you showed as the entrance area. And I thought that was lovely. It was just the aesthetic of the multifamily that everybody was like, oh.
So is this not the plan that planning saw?
What I wanted to point out is that that was actually our second time at Planning Commission. We had been before Planning Commission once, and they said.
And I wasn't there for that one, yeah. But no, this is not what was taken.
So this
from-
is not what y'all presented to planning?
This is version 3.
This part is, which we liked that, but, and
I'm talking
the
about the architecture and everything.
the
like
architecture, no.
This is we made, our 2 reactions to the comments from Planning Commission.
This is completely different than what they had at planning.
So
It's the same site plan, but we've continued to evolve the architecture. We just asked that if the architecture was the only hangup, that we go on to city council and not a third time at planning commission. And between then and now, we've decided to just kind of drop the whole aesthetic thing together and meet the city's requirement of the 70% masonry. which
And those
is what-
buildings are going to be off the street, so you're going to have that corridor that's going to come in before you could actually see any of the structures.
Yeah, this view shed here shows
you what you'll
the view
see.
from the front entry of the project. So with, and what you see in the cross-section below is that stream corridor that separates the commercial from the residential. And with the retained trees and vegetation in that corridor and the view shed from Nashville Highway, very little of the buildings will be seen. It doesn't mean they're not high-quality, good-looking buildings. We have the 70% masonry requirement. And
I just think better quality gives them more longevity as a place that people want to pay premium dollars for. Mr. Fan?
I've got a few questions. Explain a little bit of this partnership with the Gap, how that's gonna work.
Yeah, I can step in there. It's, typically in communities when you do some kind of workforce housing or attainable housing, there's, maybe tax increment financing or payment in lieu of taxes. Here, we're just trying to work with GAP in negotiations and discussions with them about the site and what their needs are. That came up. They have I think, depending on the year, 300 to 600 person hiring deficit based on people can't afford to drive to work or they can't afford to live near work. So our reaction to that was, well, we can help with that. Hopefully it'll be considered goodwill to the community, obviously goodwill to the seller of the land. We'll have pedestrian connectivity from our community into Gap so they can, walk to work. So really it's just a partnership with them, 25 units. We're still working on the 2 bedrooms versus 1 bedroom. Again, it'll be based around what their needs are.
Okay, how many total units have you got right now?
372.
And what percent is gonna be for the Gap employees?
25 units.
No, that's units, I said percentage.
I don't have a calculator. I guess I could do it on my phone.
Is this considered affordable housing?
No, it's not. It's not. Again, going back to the kind of the payment in lieu of taxes, the tax increment financing, low-income housing tax credit, that has nothing to do with this development. This is a Class A market rate multifamily development with a private agreement between the developer and the land seller, GAP. So we'll monitor and manage that process with the partnership of GAP, probably their Human Resources Department. So it's all very kind of internally run. But I will say, it's not a one and done. It'll stay with the property as long as GAP is operating as a neighbor there. So
The Gap won't have any ownership in this?
they will not.
Are you saying that
Wait, let's let Mr. Fan finish his questions, and then Mr. Juvance has questions.
Will there be a drivable entrance into the Gap?
There will not. It'll be a pedestrian entrance. But as you can see on the site plan, there is ingress egress on Harris Lane, which, if somebody were to want to drive 300 yards to work instead of walk, they would just go out and right back in.
You have an estimation on what the rent will be in these apartments?
For the GAP employees or for market rate?
Both.
GAP employees, gosh, I'm trying to think through the math. I think it's around $1,000. And then market rate, the rents will range anywhere from $1,200 for 1 bedroom to $1,700 for a 2.
$500 difference in a 2-bedroom?
I believe that's correct.
You know how many employees are at the Gap?
It ranges depending on seasonality and, quite frankly, what they're able to hire. Like I
Bates
said,
can answer that question, and she's lurking behind you, the current.
Rosemary Bates, Economic Development Agency. A week or so ago, they had 2,500 unique employees. And he's right, they're often running at a deficit of 300 plus.
How will they determine which employees are going to get this break?
it'll be on a first come, first served basis, sir.
Now, is the Gap supplementing their rent?
No, they're not.
They're reducing the rent.
The developer is supplementing the rent, essentially.
Is there anything that will be in writing that will control this rent?
No, it's based on a discount per market rate, so it may fluctuate up or down based on, cost of living, inflation,
But an
deflation.
agreement between you as the property owner and Gap would exist.
Correct.
Will we be able to read that agreement?
I don't think that that's probably appropriate.
It's a private
for us
agreement,
Us to be exposed to. Mr. Javons.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank the Gap because when the first time they brought that, they called me and we had a couple of nice conversations. And I'm going to say the same thing I told them, that I agree with Chairman Purrier. The spot is right, but it's too late. And that's kind of because the staff got to prove, like we had apartments, we got to prove when that was not making sense, where this one makes sense. But again, it's my district, so I drive there every day. So I know where the apartments are. And to give you an idea of what we have right there already on the 2 square mile around that property there, 2 square mile. Already built, we have the Edison at Petona with 304 apartments, Stratford with 120, Fairview Common apartment, Chandler Park with 444 apartments, and the Trails at Hunter Point with 216 apartments. So already there, built, it's around 1,100 units. So on that 2 square mile, we have already 1,100 apartments, okay? Now we got approved, and we're gonna be built there. We have Baker's Crossing with 252 apartments. We have Griffin Farm North, Argento at 386 now. With 286 apartments. We have the Chandler Marketplace with 266 apartments. And we have the Commons on Greenlee was supposed to be owner-occupied, but now we're going to be all rental, multifamily and single-family housing. So on the book to be built there, and some already started, we have 1,332 units. So on that 2 square miles, we have 2,476 units for rent already there, or we're going to be built. So again, I'm not going to change my tune. Like I said, it's not the right time. I think we don't need it right now. It's not warranted. That's going to add a lot of units on the market. And I was excited for, the discount to the Gap, but when I heard there was only 25 units, that kind of bumped me. I was expecting more, but I appreciate you doing that anyway. So I can't vote yes for that because of the timing. You will have been, a year, maybe a year, 2 years ago, I will probably entertain it. If we go to that's okay. Well, I'm going to stay there. If we go to the history of Gallatin and you search, we had 3,100 new units that came online since 2004 and almost 2,000 in the past 5 years. So I don't think we need more apartment there for now. Maybe that can change, but I will not vote for that.
Mr. Fennell.
The question, I was going to ask about market rate, and Steve covered that.
Did you all, I know that we had the conversation about the Vol State housing situation, and then somebody was tossing around some occupancy rates, but I don't recall if that was you all or someone else, to be honest.
I was hoping you weren't going to ask me that. We have been playing phone tag with Fall State since our last conversation.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just know that. The only reason I'd ask you all about that was because for years, we've gotten calls from people looking for housing for their students because
Yeah.
they're coming here to play sports or whatever. And you don't think, I mean, like, I don't think of Vol State as having kids, not, I shouldn't say kids, but students living near campus, but there are a lot of people that come from other areas to actually, especially play sports. But then, because it's the best, apparently the best community college in Tennessee, and with all the opportunities that are offered through the state and through that college, you've got students coming from other parts of the state just to go to that community college. So that's a shift in dynamic that we have not
Yeah.
experienced.
Absolutely,
That we did not
Mayor.
experience a decade ago.
Yeah, with, adjacent with Gap and Vol State, and kind of tucked back in this corner behind some really nice commercial, obviously makes it feel like makes it feel like a great location for this kind of housing.
I just wanted to say that ordinarily I would not vote for more apartments, but where it is, like you just said, it's going to help Ball State students and helping the Gap. I wish that they would more, 2,500 employees and there's only room for 25 apartments to help them out. It just kind of doesn't, it seems like a drop in the bucket. So I wish that there could be more subsidized for the Gap employees, or maybe give the Vol State students a little break too. But, I'm going to vote for it because of the location.
Yeah, fair comment, Council Lady Love. And there will be specials running and concessions that are available to everyone. And, in conversations with Gap, obviously their housing and transportation needs are they're there. We're doing our best to basically, give and partner. We wish we could do more, but at some point it becomes a deal that doesn't get financed.
And the thing that was compelling to me is that Gap has such a tremendous history in this community. Before you all were on the scene, it was actually an ask of them regarding that property and the commercial out parcels, because they've got property that they want to see benefit. And they think also that the out parcels will support their employees as well. And so I think that that's interesting. I think if this were to be approved and the process were to go forward, that we ought to talk about some opportunities, maybe even with Vol State, to get more pedestrian interconnectivity so that there could be access to all of those parcels. Someone brought that up to me after the fact, and I thought, yeah, that would be good, to be able to get the college kids to those out parcels, and as well as the employees would be beneficial.
Yeah, we love pedestrian connectivity and safety, and that's obviously good for developments like this. So happy to continue to study that and look for opportunities to connect.
Well, and we'll try, and if it moves forward, we'll try and help make some connections with the proper people at Ball State.
That'd be great.
It'd be interesting.
Motion to move it on to council.
Somebody sitting up here sits on their foundation board.
You might have a voicemail from me then.
Hey, are there any other comments, questions, discussion, Mr. Carter?
Motion.
Yeah, go ahead. You had your hand up.
Yeah, I understand the Vol State staff, but of what you said, that's going to be luxury apartments. So if I look at the rent right now in Gallatin, it's rent around $1,500. I have trouble seeing a student spend $1,500 on a rent. So that's,
Yeah, fair question. When I was at university. I had a roommate. We split a two-bedroom. So I think that's probably a great opportunity for college students.
And will the large unit be a two-bedroom unit? So this will be efficiency 1 and 2 bedrooms?
No, they're not efficiency units. I'm trying to think about the largest two-bed. It's probably 1,250 feet maybe, or 1,200 feet. So it's a good-sized unit.
And is there a possibility for there to be more units dedicated to the Gap for their employee base? Because I agree with everybody else, and especially Linda, with their employee base now, with them not even, or with them running a deficit already, I think there needs to be a designation of more places for their workforce.
Yeah, fair question. I mean, we can continue to try to manipulate the math, but at some point, we're giving away enough that it kills the returns of the deal, and then we don't have a financial partner to do the deal. To my knowledge, this is kind of the first time that a private developer has tried to partner with a private company in Gallatin. So we're learning as we go and trying to figure this out, and certainly understand and respect what GAP's needs are. And we'll continue to look into that and try to manipulate it. But again, we have a financial partner lined up, a big institutional investor, which is great news for this deal because their standards are very high, the way they want the property managed and owned and kept clean, and which really makes it a Class AA property. And we would hate to lose them if the returns, I mean, it's an investment to them, right? So if we give too much away, the investment doesn't become a good investment.
Made a motion.
I'm sorry?
I did make a motion.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Motion by Councilwoman George to move forward to council meeting.
Second.
Second by Councilman Hayes. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving ordinance 02402-12 on the council, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Passes 6-1. Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, it is 7:40. I think it is a good time to take a 10-minute recess.
Perfect.
right, we will reconvene this meeting. Mr. Tuttle, I did have a request for a rumble strip between the bike lane and the pavement. I said I'd pass it on, lest I forget I'm doing it publicly. We will now move on to item number 6, which is ordinance 02402-8, an ordinance of the City of Gallatin, Sumner County, Tennessee, zoning 235.51 acres not zoned to the R8 PRD medium density residential planned residential district and rezoning 58.88 acres from the R40 low density residential district to R8 PRD with a preliminary master development plan for the banks at Lot 4 located east of Lot 4 Road, north of Peach Valley Road, authorizing the revision to be indicated on the official zoning atlas, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Rose, our city planner.
I'm back.
We welcome you.
So, thank you, Mayor and council members. This is the banks at Lock 4, which I'm sure we're all very familiar with. It's a proposal to initially zone 235.51 acres of land from, well, to R8 from nothing. It was annexed without a zoning designation, so that portion needs to be initially zoned. And then to rezone 58.88 acres from R40, which is low-density residential district, to R8 PRD. So all of the proposed property would be rezoned to R8 PRD. This is the location map. It is off the edge of Lock 4 Road. So it's on the east side of Lock 4 Road and north of Peach Valley Road, which Peach Valley Road is this one here. Lock 4 Road is this one here. The applicant here was here 2 weeks ago and proposed 760 dwelling units as part of their proposed development plan. That was a mix of single-family detached and single-family attached dwelling units in the form of townhouses. The applicant heard the comments from the city council and from the public and has revised their plan to completely remove any of the attached units and they've redesigned their lots just to be single-family detached units only. So instead of having 760 units, there are now 695 units proposed. This is the current plan, I believe. It's hard to see, but that was the one that revised the units to take out the townhouses. The proposed change in density would be from 2.5 dwelling units per acre down to 2.36 dwelling units per acre. The open space calculation remains the same. No design changes really occurred with the area for the lots. It literally just shrunk the amount of units by changing the width of the lots that were proposed within the current design of the development plan. City Council discussed quite a bit of this last time, so I'm not going to go into most of the details of the project itself. Rather, just want to bring up one other point of discussion that was brought up last time, and that was the concern that the rezone would allow either the current or future property owners to have up to 6.5 dwelling units per acre because of the R8 classification. But this is not the base R8 zoning. It's the R8 PRD zoning, which requires the property to be approved with a preliminary development master plan. And that is tied to the zoning allowance that you all decide whether or not to approve. And so if this development proposal is, and rezoning is approved, the master plan and the density that's approved along with it of the 2.36 dwelling units per acre would be their max dwelling units that they could do, right? They couldn't come back and just say, hey, I've got R8 zoning, and that means I could do 6.5 dwelling units per acre. They would be restricted to the current approved plan that is part of the R8 PRD zoning. So any changes that they do decide to propose would have to come back to this body for an approval. And so you would have a crack at approving or denying that change. With that, Jim Harrison is the applicant, or representing the applicant here, and he would like to make a presentation. I'm here as well if you have any questions for me. So turn the time over to Jim.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. John Haas with Edge. I've also got Jim Harrison with me, and I'm just going to touch on these two slides very quickly because, as was just mentioned, it was very well outlined in terms of the changes that were made. Which one is the pointer? That, oh, the big one?
There we go. You got to press and hold. Let me put it on the screen.
Okay. So as was mentioned, we have made additional changes to the proposed plan. Since we last met, we've reduced the number of homes that were proposed again, and I have some of those numbers from our original submittal, which was from over a year ago with the annexation of plan that you saw. We've done that by eliminating the townhomes entirely from the plan. All of those townhomes were alley load, and you can see where those changes happened. So as was mentioned, we didn't change the roadway network. We haven't changed the open space. But in these areas with these dark outlines is where it went from a rear-loaded townhome to a rear-loaded single-family detached home. So now all the lots on the plan are single-family detached homes with that total lot reduction of 65 lots from that plan we had before you just a couple of weeks ago. And that brought our density down to 2.6. I just, real quickly, just to see them side by side, you can see 2.36, I'm sorry. What did I say?
You said 2.6.
2.36, I apologize, and I'll point that out here. But the only changes that have happened, we've kept our open space, the programming of that open space with those amenities, the off-site improvements for the roadway improvements are all the same. Our native trails, greenway trails, sidewalks, all of that remains the same. The change was right here, which previously we had 167 townhomes for that 760 total. Now we have 0 townhomes and 695 detached single-family homes. As was mentioned, the last plan that we brought to you was 2.58 units per acre. Now we're at 2.36, and the open space at 50% remained the same. I do want to just touch on quickly, and then Jim will step up here, is, as I mentioned, that plan that came before you with the annexation over a year ago, the way this plan has developed, originally that submittal had 877 lots. This plan before you this evening is 182 lots less than that initial proposal. So we've been doing our best to accommodate the comments that we've received, and hopefully we have a plan here tonight that satisfies those comments.
Jim Harrison, CSDG, and just want to say thank you again. We're very happy to be in City of Gallatin. We, as John explained, we listened to council, listened to the input, just as we've been listening all along to different residents as we've gone through the process. I just want to mention one thing. John just mentioned, that we've gone from 877 homes to 695. We're at 2.36 units per acre. So we've got an improved plan for the density, but we've got all the improvements that we've described to this point off-site: water, sewer, roadways. And a lot of those improvements, as we've described, address situations that already exist. They fix those situations. They provide adequate capacity. All that is still there. So I just wanted to mention that because I know as we started through the process, through the annexation process, it was our spirit to show a snapshot so that we could give you all a picture of what we were thinking about what the development would be. And so I know there were conversations and statements that were made, but at that point in time, the improvements were not identified, laid out, the off-site improvements. So this has brought all those things together. I will mention, I'm not going to give the full presentation, but I will mention a couple things. We want to be here to answer questions tonight. We have the full presentation if you want to go through anything. You know, the Lakeside Park, the improvements that we've got in it, the Greenway Trail that we're building along the western side, which does connect to the public and does connect to the long-term Greenway Trail along Lock 4 Road. The miles and miles of internal Greenway trails, nature trails, sidewalks, which you've mentioned in those before, the $3 million or so of off-site improvements. The Park Lake open space, 148 acres, 50% of the site. And then I will mention this because it's come up a couple different times. One of the things we did early on was look at all the environmental features on the site. And it's come up over and over again. We haven't looked at those. We have. We looked at those very early on. We protected those. We've enhanced open space around them. We've built in larger buffers. Currently, there's cattle running on it, and that's what it's been for years. It's going to be in a much better state down the road with the open space that we have around it. The open spaces, the enhancement on the open space to provide play fields, to provide intricately coordinated at the right location, open spaces that are usable. I want to thank everybody that gave input on that because it helped improve the plan. So with that, we just want to be here to answer questions. I've got to say this, very thankful to the city of Gallatin, but I'm thankful that Gallatin's my home too. So I'll just say that as the end. One of the comments that was made, we're all out of town. We're not all out of town. And I will say, I have a daughter, a son-in-law that live in Gallatin, and 2 grandbabies live in Gallatin. And so I get that side of it. We need housing. And I do think this provides that second and third home for people that are looking to step up because they're very nice homes. It provides very needed housing in Gallatin. So with that, just here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Opening the floor for questions, Mr. Javance.
No questions, but comments. Jeff, please. So we're talking about, for all I hear tonight and all I hear all these years, with all due respect, Mayor, all the people I talked to or who came at the meeting, I never heard anybody saying they were against developing that property. They say they were against developing doing something were not fitting there, okay? So I went on the GIS and I basically put the property with the GIS and all the property around it. So that speaks by itself. One of the zoning ordinance say that the development PRD need to be harmonious with what's around it. So when I see that, you know, a lot of green, but a lot of lots compared to everything was around. Move, Jeff, please, thank you. So by comparison, because we're talking about density, I took Nickel Circle there, and I put Nickel Circle on the development. So I just turn it that way to make it fit. So the difference there, again, numbers speak better than in pictures. Nickel Circle is 113 acres with 60 units. If I put it back there on the 113 acres, there is 380 units. Maybe I'm off few because counting, it's kind of stuff. So when I look at the zoning and again, the zoning says that need to be consistent with the surrounding area. Adjacent properties. The exact word about the zoning ordinance is that the rezoning will be compatible with the surrounding environment. I don't see that as compatible, and I think that's what our constituents are telling us. So again, I went to the adjacent properties. 29% around that land is rural residential. 50% is R40, low density. 6% is low density residential. And 14% is R15 medium density. So basically around there, 86% of the properties are low density residential. It's 388 acres total. So that, basically 86% of everything was around it is going to be R8 PRD. Was called medium density, but if I look at the lot size are the lot size because of the exemption they got of R6 PRD with high density. I'm not going to go to the units per acre because, again, it's the way I see it, it's a smoke screen because that picture speak by itself. We talk about traffic, we talk about roads. So roads, we change our zoning ordinance to authorize people to park in streets. So I was driving around on residential and I came to a car parked on the street. So I decided to park mine on the other side. So that's basically 21 feet, and I think some of your arterial staff are 20 feet. And to really get a picture of what it is, I put my chainsaw on the ground so you can see, you have an idea of the space between the two cars. And if you can see, I'm parked right there, I can go no more, and the other truck can go no more. So we need to think about the safety of our people, okay? And again, I did that. That doesn't mean that's gonna happen, but we know how people are. Some people are gonna park, they're not gonna think, they say, yeah, a car can pass there, but there is a problem, our truck, engine truck's not gonna be able to go through. So that's an issue for me. Traffic. I know we talk about the number on your guys' traffic study, but I went back historically and I already talked about that one. You know, the Log 4 was asked for the city in 2007, where that was already saying that Log 4 was not adequate for development. And in 2000, at that time, they were showing 1,221 vehicles a day. Thanks to Chief Bandy, we get survey regularly. And the last survey last year we got for Log 4 Road, exactly at the same spot that this guy, were showing 4,152 cars daily. So that was already three times more. And if we add, you know, we talk about the trips, 6,000 more trips a day, even if the
traffic is redistributed to other exits. Let's go with 4,000 trips going to Lock 4 because people are going to go the fastest way. They're not going to go around. If they have to go there and they're here, they're going to direct. They're not going to go around to try to go there. So even if you put 4,000 trips, that's basically double. And that was not adequate in 2007, so how that can be adequate now? The roundabout, again, we need the 4-lane stop doesn't work, so we need a roundabout, but the right may not be feasible due to required right-of-way. So that's a solution was not feasible, so why it's even there? So again, I think we need to start being serious a little and start applying our zoning ordinance, start do things to make sense. I'm listening to my constituents. They have been coming here and coming here and coming here and coming here, and they're not unreasonable. What's going to be built there need to be consistent with what's around. That's what our zoning ordinance says. It's time for us to apply our zoning ordinance. You know where I stand, so that's not going to happen for me. But Mr. Alexander mentioned something was interesting. He mentioned the zoning was 0609 130. So what you guys did when you removed the townhouses, you move now to an R6 PRD, single family residence only. And it's a different zoning requirement. You have different requirements in that zoning. So, and I don't know if you're aware of it, hopefully you are, but the main thing I see there is that the maximum lot coverage for each dwelling unit shall not exceed 45% of the lot area. So that's going to eat you out because your footprint on your dwelling is going to diminish a lot. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. And there is another thing where we can't really answer anything yet because we just got your new proposal, so we don't really have numbers, and I would love to see numbers where the lot creation shall be taken from net usable square feet, which shall derive by subtracting from the gross square footage of the PRD the required amount of open space and the actual amount of street right-of-way or street easement required. The remaining net area shall be usable land for proper layout. So I didn't have the time to measure everything, measure the road, measure the easement, all the PUD easement, and everything. So I can't really answer to see if you actually are making this requirement of node. So that's where I have an issue. So I think we should make sure that we follow our ordinance. We should make sure that your lot coverage follow the ordinance, and we should make sure that the lot footage follow, again, that's ordinance was just for single family residential PRD. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else with, Ms. Love?
First, Jim, thank you for listening to us and taking out those townhouses. I think that was a big improvement, and I appreciate you listening to us. That, as people have said that live out that way, this is a beautiful piece of land, and we have the opportunity to make this a premier development for people coming into Gallatin. I don't think these tiny little homes pushed together so tightly is what I would call premier. Some of them are only 41-foot lots, and that doesn't, I agree, that doesn't seem to fit the character of the other homes around there. No matter what we do, though, that high of a number is just going to add so much traffic onto Lot 4 that it really concerns me and worries me that, everybody's driven down Lot 4. It's hilly, it's narrow, and that amount of traffic is going to not only impact Lot 4 Road, but also Belvedere and Peninsula, where we've had all kinds of problems trying to get people to stop speeding as they cut through those things, not to mention Nashville Pike, too. So I just have a big problem with that high number of homes through there, but I do appreciate that you took out the townhouses.
Go ahead, Steve.
I'd like for them to consider the 41-foot lot to 50 feet. Look at it, I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I'm familiar with a couple of subdivisions in another state that have a 50-foot width lot, and it looks a whole lot better than 41 would. What is the width of the houses?
The width of the houses is right at, let me see, do a little math, minus 10 feet, I should be able to figure that. So they would be 31 feet wide. And the houses are shown, the front of the houses are shown in the pattern book that we had as part of the ordinance as well. Very nice looking homes and nice value too. And the square footages are good sizes. I've got some of those if you'd like for me to kind of read through some of that. The alley-loaded single-family are going to be 1,800 square foot to 2,600 square feet. The front-loaded single-families are 1,774 square feet to 3,300 square feet. And the side-loaded side-loaded larger lots are 2,700 square feet to 3,500 square feet size houses. Those range from, the market always changes, so I'm hesitant to, but those are in the 400s for the smaller lots. For the medium-sized lots, they're 400 to 500,000 in that range. For the larger, they're 500 to 600,000. That's why I keep saying there's second and third homes for people to move up into. These are not going to be your typical starter homes. They're very nice with lots of open space around them. So that's why we've designed it with the 41-foot. We know there's lots of open space on the back, and there's lots of really high-quality green space with street trees and everything on the front.
There's a development in Fairview, and I'm just offering this because I think it'd help you conceptualize. There is a development in Fairview when you're going into the right. I don't know what that.
Overton.
Overton, that's developed very similarly. I don't know what their lot width is, but I think Mr. McCord even mentioned that at one point.
Very similar, yeah.
What would the width between the houses total be?
10. There'll be 5-foot setback, so it'll be 10 feet total between the houses.
Okay, I'd like to address something else for the public also. Some people got up here and talked about this construction company, and they may be bad, I don't know. But I blame the codes department for the city if it is poor construction. And one of the biggest complaints I have is that our codes department is strict. And my answer to them is, do you want them to not be? So I don't think we would have that issue with that company based on the job that our codes department does.
They're already building.
Huh?
They're already building now.
Building.
In Nexus.
Yeah, they're a Nexus builder right now.
Well, I think our codes department, we won't have the problem with poor construction.
Can I piggyback on just what you say, coming back to the ordinance on single family? So
Let me recognize the people that haven't spoken yet before I come back to you, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
No one to say something.
Jim, as a neighbor and a friend of the community, I think you've done a really good job on this development. I do like the green space. I like the off-site development that you're willing to do, the improvements, the amenities. I like really everything about it, and I think it's a good plan. However, sitting up here, I've always, the conversations I had with you that involved my wife, and I pretty much stuck at 2 houses per acre. But as I was sitting up here, I got somebody to look up the deed on my property so I could try to get it in context. My lot is 19,000 square foot, and it's 0.44 of an acre. And pretty much, I think in Fairview is anywhere, I think it's fair to say 2.0 to 2.5, the density. So I sit there and look at my lot, and I know where my neighbors are. And then I was sitting there thinking about, well, how much would I have to cram that in to get another house in there to make it 2.36? I would not want anything really any smaller, and that's just my choice. But there's people out there that would like to have and don't want the lot size that I have. There's people that want bigger lots, but I'm listening to the community out there. That is my only holdup. I'm fine with your development. I'm fine with the developer. They might have some bad things said about them in the past, and maybe that's true, but I agree with what Steve said. I think I have so much faith in our codes department. They're not going to allow something to come in here that would not meet our codes. And I do have faith in that. My only thing is now, right now, I'm still on the fence about this. I would love to see it two houses, and that's what I'm going to stick with right now. But I can tell you this, I'm still considering this, okay? And I want the public to know that also.
Thank you, Mayor. Jim, I come back to your numbers when Councilman Fan asked you about the staff, and I go back to that rules about the 45% coverage. So if I take the numbers you just gave, and that the number I had on the number I had on the paper for you, 41 alley loaded. You said 2635 on the ground, but
Those are 1 and 2 story homes. So I think I can answer your question where you're going with that is we're going to comply with the 45% that you cited earlier. The 50% was asked for back when we had the townhomes, when we took it through the Planning Commission. Planning Commission approved 50%, but we can comply with the 45% that you're citing, that piece for that.
So on your 41, that's going to be a really small footprint.
Still, it will comply. It'll meet that standard.
Thank you, Jim.
Anyone else? Being no one else wishing to speak, we do not have a motion or a second at this point to move forward to council.
Motion to move it to council.
Second.
Motion by Councilman George, second by Councilman Carter. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of moving forward ordinance 02402-8, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no.
No.
Okay, I have Fennell, Love, and Juvent saying no. Is that correct? So it moves on to council 4-3.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is presentation and discussion of the findings of an annexation study for 3 parcels totaling 106.85 acres on tax map 135 parcels 97, 98, and 9601, located north of Peach Valley Road and west of Woods Ferry Road. Mr. Rose, you've sure worked hard your first week here. I hope you keep coming back.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. So this is property that is located along Woods Ferry Road. Proposal is that the city annex 3 parcels totaling 106.85 acres. The property owners had submitted a letter requesting the approval of the city council to submit a petition for the annexation of the contiguous property, and that came before the council at the last meeting. The property is currently zoned RR. I'm going to pull up a map here of it. It's currently zoned RR in the county, and that's rural residential district. Includes one single-family residence and various accessory structures. The property is otherwise undeveloped. Since 2015, annexations have been required to be by property owner request or by referendum, and so they have met that requirement by putting in their request. They must, with few exceptions, also occur within our urban growth boundary. So municipalities typically consider annexations for the following reasons: to ensure orderly future growth of the city and its surrounding areas, to ensure unified planning and zoning regulations and enforcement consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan and UGB plan, to protect or enhance the current and future municipal tax base, to increase the size and population of the community, to distribute the cost of providing municipal services more equitably and facilitate the long-range planning for the provisions of those services, and to coordinate municipal services. So each annexation would have to have an adopted plan of services, establishing the services to be delivered and the projected timing of those services. This proposed annexation and this report is including public utilities, electrical service, recreational facilities and programs, public works, solid waste collection, street construction and repair, vehicle maintenance, street lighting, planning and zoning services, building and codes administration, police and fire protection services, stormwater, etc. We have requested of each of the departments that have purview over these areas to respond, and that has all been included in the report that you received, and it's on the agenda. According to each of the different departments, it appears that we can be able to provide the services needed for these properties to be annexed into the city. The one other piece of information in the report is current taxes on the property. We would collect $640 for the year's worth of taxes on this property to the city. Of course, if the property were to be annexed and developed, that would substantially increase tax revenue for this property. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any.
Just comments. Thank you, Brian. Again, I think that's not the planning for, that's how the system is made, but how can we make a plan of service without knowing what's going to go there? Because cows eating the grass compared to 600 houses, it's different need. And if I read again, and I'm going to come back to the PD, MTAS 2.4, MTAS recommend 255 police officer per 1,000, national average is 2.4. And right now, our current official ratio is 1 per 450. And say it's 1 per 450, but if I take the numbers, actually 1 per 518. And the current official ratio is 1.9 per 1,000 citizens. So we're far away from the 2.5, we're far away from the 2.4. in 2010, our official ratio was 2.14 per 1,000. In 2020, it was 2.09 per 1,000. Now we are at 1.9 per 1,000. So the ratio is decreasing, and the plan of service said a similar ratio should be maintained to provide the same level of service as the city grows, so that's not the case. And, you know, nothing fault of Chief Bandy, it's just how it is right now. And I know he's trying hard and to get people in, but he's not the only one. I think we need, again, like I said before, we need to get our head out of the sand and start acting for the good of everybody. We need to stop annexing and expand and stretching everybody to the limit, okay? We need to stop annexing until we are caught on our personal. As of yesterday, because I follow that, because I'm concerned about our people, there is one opening in code, one in leisure, two in planning, openings a PD. There is 8 in public works, with 13%, and 19 in utility with 20%. So basically all the departments in charge of taking care of our infrastructure are short. So I think we need to, pause and replenish our troops before giving them more and more and more to do. The $640 of tax revenue is negligible. I won't probably even pay for the gas for police to patrol the area. So I'm gonna have to vote no for that, because we need to be reasonable and realistic.
Anyone else with any comments? Okay, item number 9 is presentation and discussion of the findings of an annexation study for a 77.55 acre parcel, tax map 113, parcel 20, located north of Hicks Lane, west of Dobbins Pike. Mr. Rose, I think this is your last responsibility of the evening.
Okay, so this is a property off of Hicks Lane and Dobbins Pike. The proposal is that the city annex, it's a one parcel property of 77.55 acres. And the property is located north of Hicks Lane and west of Dobbins Pike. So this would be Dobbins Pike here, north, and this is Hicks Lane here. Property is currently zoned RR, Rural Residential District in the county, and includes a cell tower on the property. Property is otherwise undeveloped. Since 2015, annexations have been required to be by property request. So property owner is requesting this annexation. And of course, it is within our urban growth boundary. I read through several reasons for annexation on the prior report, and so I'm not going to repeat those, but would just also highlight that we did put it out to all of our departments again to respond on this, and they responded with information that indicates that we would have the available services to be able to provide for this annexation to occur. Again, the tax dollars on this one, also small at this point in time. It's $861 that we collect on an annual basis. And again, however, if we develop the property, or if the property owner elects to develop the property, we would, see a substantial increase in tax dollars from that annexation and development. So.
I appreciate the reports. It feels a bit artificial, however, not knowing what the demand will be at the point that it's developed. I mean, but as where it is currently, it's helpful to know, so thank you.
I do agree with Mr. Juvance that it is odd that we have to go through a process such as this to create a report without having a better proposed
I agree.
development
Well,
on the property.
and just being frank, it's circumstances that have been created because people, fear that they're going to lose ability to do things with their property, so they want to be able to come into the city, and I think that's what we're seeing. I'm not speaking for any of you requesting annexation, but I have heard that from some others.
Do you want me to interject?
Certainly.
I'd be happy to. And I have discussed this with Mr. Rose as well. This is something that is not required by law to do the annexation study at this point. However, it is recommended by MTAS. And when we changed our annexation process, this is what this body voted to do. So that's why we are following this process, and it is what is recommended by MTAS. Even though it is not strictly required by law, it is their recommendation. That's why this body is following this process. If you want to change it, I suppose you can change it at any time.
I think we should probably change it because that's a waste of your time to basically put stuff out of, we don't know what's going to happen. So make a decision on nothing. I agree, we should probably look into change that.
I appreciate the analysis. Thank you very
And
much.
I'm
Anyone-
happy to put together a report that might outline some information.
I know, I think you might have some ideas, and we'll get together and discuss a better path that may or may not exist.
Do have to have the annexation study, though, before you can annex anything. And because we can't zone before, you're going to be in the same, whether we do it now or whether you do it when you bring it back to council, we're still not going to know what's going to be on the property because we're still not rezoning. We don't have the authority under the law to do that. And so,
No, it's just an awkward situation. There's no way around
so
it.
you
It's an
can
awkward
change it
situation.
that you don't do it at this point, but you're going to have to do it when it comes back to you, and we're still not going to be rezoning, so you're still not going to know what's on the property. Typically, when we've been annexing in the last couple of years, people have told us what they plan to do with it, and so they have some idea. However, at this point, we do have some property owners that really don't, or they're telling us they don't have a plan for the property. They just want it to be annexed into the city. Therefore, we can't really do a formal annexation study that was going to show what that plan is going to bring because we don't have a plan. But you do have to have the study before you can annex.
Yeah, I don't
So
think
you
we
would
just-
change the process from
The-
right now
the order,
until
yeah.
at the end, at the annexation. Either way, you still have to do the study.
Yeah, I don't think there's any debate that we have to have that. I was just commenting that it felt awkward because it's for land just as it is. Anyone else with any comments or questions before we move along? Mr. Juvance?
Thank you, Mayor. That came already in front of her, that was turned down. That actually came the first time with the development idea. That was turned down, the same owner, the same property, nothing changed, so. And I have the same comment I did for the previous annexation, so I'll be voting no on that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Item 10 is Resolution 2402-15. Ms. Bates.
These next two are appointing the same person to two different boards, Don Cunningham to the Industrial Development Board, and then also to the Health, Educational, and Housing Facilities Board. I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Cunningham. He's a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army. I came to know him within the last year, and I can tell you from my experience with a nonprofit that he does his homework and he works his tail off. He is a tremendous asset to our community. So I can speak about him personally.
Motion to approve.
Second. Is your
Just send
motion,
all to council.
is your motion to move both items 10 and 11 forward to council?
That motion, I agree.
Okay, second agree? Yes. Okay, items 10 and 11, have a motion and a second to move forward to council. You have a comment?
Yeah, I want to thank you for actually putting a bio of the gentleman in a package, so I want to be able to know for who I'm voting this time, so I appreciate it.
Okay, all in favor of moving forward Resolution 2402-15 and 2402-16, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Ms. Nichols, I offered to move your report forward.
Financial reports for January were included in your packet, and then this evening before the meeting, I dropped off the latest sales tax report. We received that information from the county today. I was excited to see the 1.7 million for the month of December, so we had good sales tax collections in December. At this point in the year, all the funds are doing well.
All right, thank you so much. All right, that concludes the regular agenda. It brings us to other business. I have none this evening. Does any other member of this body? Seeing no one, we'll move on to department head reports. Are there any department heads? They're just dying to lengthen this meeting. I'm sorry, if that was discouraging, I didn't mean for it to be. If you have something, please do come to the podium. Okay, thank you all. With that,
Motion to adjourn.
multiple motions to adjourn. Second, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Ladies and gentlemen, we're adjourned. Be safe going home, especially the department heads who have had a very long day and some are traveling pretty far. So thank you all for sticking with us this evening. Have a good night. Please treat each other with kindness.